the power of our life and what we're creating is choice. So don't lose choice just because you think you have to fit into society's idea of success and work-life balance or work kind of schedule.
What's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host,
Emanuele Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets. What's going on, STR Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sjogren, here with my main man and brother from another mother, Mr. Emanuele Pani. What's up, B?
My brother, so good to see you on a Saturday, but
yeah,
life is good. You know, we've been busy. I still have my bathing suit on that may or may not be wet still. So I'm hoping for the Florida gods it's going to be sunshine at the end of this as well, so I can go back outside and tan. But like, it's been, I don't know, bro, life is good. And like, you and I had this conversation yesterday, and I'm just like, I am so proud. I look around me and like, I have such a beautiful network of people all doing very beautiful things and like creating their own communities, and like just the people, for example, like our community, right? Like I go in there, I'm like, I am so fucking proud of all these people. And I'm just like, everybody's so beautiful and like shares, and just like, and I'm seeing that a lot, like Nick, Ian, like, right, all of our close buddies. And I'm like, I am so happy. Like, you know what I mean? Like my whole team is like just winning. Like all of my friends are winning, you know? The only struggle I have is I don't get to see you guys in person. And we're being so busy with work that is literally like all we do is work, which we're very grateful because like we have a big why. So I appreciate the work and I'm grateful for it. But at the same time, I'm like, I miss friends. I miss people that like I enjoy having a meal with, and just, you know.
Well, we'll get to vibe in Miami in September for sure.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So close too. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's only 2 months away. So I'm
so if you guys don't know, we're doing another STR Wealth Conference in Miami, September 11th to 13th. Totally different vibe. We're capping it at 100 people. I think we've already sold like 70 something seats for that. So if you go to strwealthconference.com, I think you'll find the links in there, but it's the 11th to the 13th. Totally different vibe. A lot more time for networking. We're going to do some fun stuff. We've got a couple big surprises that we're going to do, some fun stuff.
And it's in Miami. So Miami is generally a lot of fun, especially on the like networking side of things. I expect us to have some good food and just a lot of like purposeful conversation. 100%. Which again, like it was so hard to do so in Nashville just because there were so many people and you just wanted to talk to as many people as possible. But I missed that. I know, like I left so many conversations halfway through just because.
Yeah. It's tough to do that in 2.5 days with 1,000 people. So
yeah.
So a lot easier to do with 100 people. So if you guys want to come hang out with E and I on the beach in Miami in September, go to strwealthconference.com. And yeah, man, I'm pumped for that. And then when this airs, I'll actually be on a plane. I'm flying out to Breckenridge with a bunch of our buddies to do a small private retreat for like our top 5 mastermind students. So it's like me, TJ, Kyle, Noble, Dr. Rach, and then our top students just masterminding for a week out in Breckenridge. Super pumped for that.
Yeah.
And so we've got a lot of good content. I'm literally working on some of the stuff, and I'll share with you guys here in a minute some of the stuff that I'm working on for that. And then we're renting like ATVs. We got horseback riding. We're doing some golf, some hiking. Yeah. I think there's a spa day, like all sorts of cool stuff. So
yeah. And honestly, that's what I miss the most about going to events, and especially the events that we used to go to, is that format of like having fun and playing, which I like. It's really something that like I've realized I need more of in my life. And it's like very difficult, right? Because it's difficult to like, you know, you're not gonna go in your local town and rent ATVs and stuff, but it's just like childlike experiences that then like really re-energize you. And then you do all the networking and all the learning afterwards, and you're just are open and excited and you had like a good heart kind of day, that you're just so much more receptive in a sense, right? And you created homies and buddies and friends, and so it's just like that tight knit kind
You
of
create a lot longer, closer relationships that way. I mean, that's how you and I connected. That's how all of our original OGs connected.
Yeah.
Especially if it's outside your comfort zone. Like, I'll never forget that zip line thing. I was terrified. I was literally like, I thought I was going to pass out with an anxiety attack, and I just went for it, and it was amazing, but I was terrified.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, what we wanted to talk about today. So we're halfway through the year, over halfway through the year, right? So we're in mid-July now. And it's a good time to reflect. You know, I like to do it quarterly, but you know, if you haven't yet, like, reflect on what were your goals at the beginning of the year, and like, have you moved the needle towards those goals? And if not, why? Right? Is it not a priority anymore? Do you need to readjust? Do you need to do certain things? And so I know on the coaching side of it, on the mastermind side of it, I had Mike Riley, Daryl, and Petsy come up, and we stayed at one of our hotels earlier last week and just masterminded around a couple things. And then I mapped out the vision for the rest of 2022, and we reviewed where we were at for goals on the year, and then like cascading that down. So as you grow your business and you have a team, you need to be constantly focusing on your vision and making sure that that vision is very clear to the rest of your team. And then at the same time, when you break your goals down, you want to have people that own each of those goals, right? So like, if you wanted to switch PMSs as an example, right? Ideally, when you get to scale and you have a team, you don't need to be the one that's doing that. Like, somebody on your team can own that, because again, if it's a new PMS, you don't know it anyway. So you might as well have somebody else on your team learn it and run point on that, so you can focus on continuing to grow your business. Then they can catch you up and you can learn it at a high level, but you don't need to be the one that's the expert. And that's the big difference when you put your CEO hat on, of like, I don't need to be the technician in my business that knows the inner workings of everything. That's what I have a team for. So like, as long as that's clear and everybody's on board, and it's like, okay, all right, Mark, you're going to own this. Sandy, you're going to own this. Kim, you're going to own this. Matt, you're going to own this. You know, like, you go down the list of who's ever on your team, get their buy-in and their support, and then they own it. And then every week during your staff meetings, you're setting little mini goals for that week to move the needle. And then they're reporting back to you of like, all right, here's what I got through. Here's any challenges that I had. Work through that. And then they go back and do it again. Right. But like, you got to learn to cast that vision and then like push it down. But be very, very clear.
Yeah. And I think that the hard part is that continuous confusion that I fall back into often, of being busy and being effective, right? So again, like, at the beginning, when you hire somebody to take on roles, you need to make sure that like you start letting go of your stuff. And then there's going to be that time that you're kind of like, just feel that there is space, and you have to be mindful of like not going back to your old ways of just start doing actions for the sake of being busy, and really keeping that CEO hat on. Because again, if you have the team but you're not working on the vision, your team doesn't know what to do, and that is your role. Like, your role is to cast the vision and to work the plan, right? Like, we plan the work and work the plan. You can't go backwards just because you don't have enough things to do, right? And that's another thing that is very important, is like, when you get to that moment, right? And we were talking about this earlier as well, of going full time. You have all of the units, you're doing everything yourself, and then you get to your first key hire, and some time kind of frees up. And then what are you going to do, right? Like, how are you using your time, and are you using it effectively and actually progressing your business? And effectively does not mean that you're working 24/7, because that's not the life that we want also, right? So it's like, are you creating, and like, how do you create a good life work balance now that you're full-time short-term rental host, or now that you have a full-time short-term rental host, and now you have a team of people? So like, now you have actually created that work time freedom. How do you fill those hours so that you feel fulfilled, and you're not just anxious, and you're not just doing things just to be
busy.
Be a busy bee. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because that's hard to me.
It
Like,
is when nobody's telling you, when you go from working in corporate or whatever to being out on your own, nobody's telling you how to manage your time, right? And it sounds amazing, and it is, but it can also be very overwhelming because you're like, I don't know what the next thing to do is, and it requires you to take a step back and actually think. So that's why when you have your goals laid out, it's like, all right, what's the most important one? And then it's like, okay, what is one thing I can do this week to move the needle towards that goal?
Yeah.
And then structuring your week. And I'm going to be talking about this in Breckenridge this week of how do you structure your weeks for yourself? So like, I'll just tell everybody, right? Like Mondays, I don't do meetings on Mondays. It's blocked. It's like Mondays is a content day for me. It's any catch up work, anything I need to do, like focus mode. That's my Monday. Yeah. Tuesdays, I just stack as many meetings as possible. I have a bunch of coaching calls. I have my manager meeting on Tuesdays. I just stack as many calls on Tuesdays as possible. Wednesdays is blocked. I golf on Wednesdays. So like my Wednesday is just blocked. Thursdays, we usually record these podcasts on Thursdays, and I have some other meetings. And then Fridays, I have my team meeting in the morning, and then I either golf, like my all staff meeting, and then I either golf, or if I need to catch up on other stuff, or like this week, I was working on some presentations for Breckenridge for next week, then I'll leverage that time. But like, that's how I bucket my weeks. And then I plan it out. So like, I know I have those buckets, and then I review my goals, and it's like, what do I need to do to move the needle? And I just put those into those time slots on my calendar.
Yeah.
And that's how I just keep moving the needle every week. But there's a very specific structure for how I do that every week.
But that structure came, and this is, I think, is another super important thing for people to understand, is like that structure was created based on what Mike wants.
Yeah.
The same way my schedule is created around what he wants, right? And it's also really interesting is the fact that like I used to be super, super disciplined, and I go through phases, right? Like for me, discipline is a love-hate relationship, right? I understand that the whole concept of like Jocko Willings, that discipline equals freedom, but at the same time, I have the personality that resists routine, even knowing that like they're good for me. Sometimes I go in that like, this is so boring, I need change, and then I mess myself up, right? But I used to be on a super great routine, get up 4:30, 5 a.m. every day. Like Mike, like you could text me, I was up all the time, working out, 40-minute meditations. And then when my dog died, I just like lost, like it just messed me up for a little while. And then now going back into like wanting to be more disciplined, I try to jam my old routine down my throat. And I was resisting it, right? And there was always this conversation of like, you used to do this. Why is it so hard? Like, I know I can, right? But it's like, you used to run a marathon and you don't run for a year, and then you expect to go back and run a half marathon in a single day. Your body is just not like that, right? And the gift that we have is that we don't have to listen to society's 9 to 5 rules, right? Like we can create our own life. I hate alarms. So now I just wake up whenever I wake up. And it happens to be the same time every day, right? Like that 7 to 8 a.m. range. Wake up, meditate, have some coffee, lay in the sun, go to the gym. And that's how I start every single one of my days. It doesn't matter if I get up at 8, at 9, at 10. It doesn't matter, because those things are important to me. And then 1 p.m. to 5 is just like blocked. And 2 to 4 is usually like deep work hours, right? Of like, what are deep tasks that I need to do, right? So may that be like, like creating, like writing copy for a new website, coming up with like marketing strategies, having meetings, finding new team players, whatever it needs to do. That happens during those hours of deep work. Because the night thing that I'm really trying to like re-nurture in myself is the ability to really work without any distractions for 2 hours, right? So I have one of those Pomodoro timers now. You can just, it's a little cube. And I'm working on increments of like 30, 45 minutes, right? And then like 10-minute break. And I'm going back to one of our old mentors, like on this 10-minute break, I just do something completely different, right? So I usually go eat something, do a couple push-ups, so like go back out in the sun, energize, and then come back into the office. So I literally physically remove myself from my deep work area. And just, but it's an experiment. Like our life is an experiment, and we don't have to run the experiment in any particular way or based to anybody else's particular things. You're like free to experiment.
Just test stuff, see what works for
Yeah.
you. Like same thing. Like I happen to be a night owl, so like I end up doing some work sometimes like late, like for whatever reason, maybe it's just from being in school for, you know, half my life or whatever. Like I just always studied at nights. Like my brain kicks on and I can go till 11, 12, 1, 2 in the morning. But if I do that, then I'm not going to force myself to get up at 6 because I'm just burning the candle at both ends. So it's just understanding like if I'm in a flow state and it's just like cranking out and I'm working on a new module for the mastermind or whatever, I'll just ride with it. And then I won't beat myself up. Like I'll sleep in a little bit later and then start my routine. But for the most part, it's like I'm in bed at 11, 11:30 and I get up around 7 and then I do my routine. You know what I mean? Like I know some people like, oh, you got to get up at 4:30. If that works for you, cool. Like that's fine. But like just test and experiment and just try and create consistency. The biggest thing is consistency.
Yeah. And understand that you have seasons of life, right? And so also having, and again, like a lot of the work that I've done with myself, you know what I mean, has gone around this kind of topic, right? About not being hard on myself and being able to like accept my natural flow. And like understand that you're gonna have seasons of life. And that's how we grew up, right? Like you had the summertime, you had the breaks, and there was like kind of like this natural flow of life. And if you're somebody like me that works in flows and you have moments that you're like, yay, I feel great, I can conquer the world. And then 3 weeks later, you're like, do I have to leave my bed? Like, can I just function from bed for like a day? One, have kindness with yourself around that. Two, have the bigger picture understanding of 3 weeks of work, of you actually moving the needle forward. It doesn't get sabotaged by the one day or the couple of days that you're not feeling good, especially if you have the vision and you have a bigger why and you have a team around you. Now I have a team that like, if I don't feel well and I don't want to do anything, I can do the bare minimum and the business runs itself. And it's the same level of customer care and the same level of love that I put in the business is done by other people. And I'm understanding with myself of like, cool, I need a day, right? And also be kind to yourself in those moments. You're like, don't analyze the past 6 months in those days that you're not feeling well. Because then you're like, I'm not doing anything. Life is horrible. Like this and this. And just like understand like how your sea, like how your ocean inside of you is. And if it's rippled, don't make judgments. Don't make calls. Don't make decisions. Don't change your life until that calm returns inside of you, where you feel not extra excited, but not extremes, right? Like when you're like kind of center in the middle.
One other thing I just want to point out too, because it sounds, and I just caught myself when I was saying it, right? Because like it sounds really cool that like, oh, Mike golfs at least once, most of the time, twice a week, right? But there's seasons, and that whole like work-life balance thing, it's more like a work-life integration. And like he was kind of alluding to, like there's these seasons where like last year was the first year in like 4 years that I was like, you know what, I'm going to be very intentional and I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my labor, because I've been pushing hard for like 4 years straight of like not going out, not doing anything, just building. And so I joined the country club. I intentionally blocked 2 days a week, sometimes 3 days a week that I would go golfing, and I was just like chilled. This year, between the Nashville event, this Breckenridge event, I'm speaking at TJ's event in Houston, then I'm doing the event in Miami. I was supposed to do another one in Austin. Like there's a lot of stuff. And on top of that, I'm building another company at the moment that I'll talk about later when we're further down the line. So like I'm in that season where I'm building again. So I've probably golfed 8 times this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where before, like last year, that wouldn't have been acceptable. But I know, again, my eyes on the prize, and I'm like, okay, this is important, and I want to push right now with some momentum. So I'll make those other sacrifices.
Yeah, and again, it's your like the power of our life and what we're creating is choice. So don't lose choice just because you think you have to fit into society's idea of success and work-life balance or work kind of schedule, right? Like you can choose, and it's the same thing with me and Tasha, right? Like last year we did a month in Europe for the summer, and this year it was a conscious choice about like, we need to buckle down and create some better systems and better infrastructure to support the growth that we want in the next 18 months. So we sacrifice Europe this summer with intention to do it longer and better next summer. Right. And like this is like it can feel overwhelming, but if you embrace it the right way, this is fun. Like you get to set your own goals and reward yourself and do the life you want. And you don't like, I don't really need a vacation because I really genuinely love my life. Like I love my house. I love, like our clients. I love what I do for a living. So I'm like, I don't need it. I really love traveling, and it's a big part of who I am. But I can sacrifice it in the right season of my life because it's connected to our bigger why and the bigger vision. And so what is a year in the existence of your business and your life? It's
a blip, man. It's a blip.
Like that,
One of the coolest things, like very gratifying for me, when I had the other coaches up at the hotel this week, we got back, I took them out to dinner, and then we got back and we were just working on some stuff on the deck and just kind of hanging out, and I got them some drinks and whatever. And we went till like 11 o'clock on the deck, just like, and they just kept throwing out new ideas, and everybody's getting all excited about all this new stuff that we want to like put in the course. I'm like, guys, if you want to like chill, they're like, dude, like we love this stuff. Like we don't get to talk about this with other people, like, because they're just like, why are you talking about work all the time? And I'm like, yes, like these are my people. Like I do what I love. So like, that's what I want to talk about. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like super grateful that like I can make a living doing this because I truly love what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, and that's, like, again, like, I think this year, like, like there's so much stuff going on in life that I think is just like, also like, we want a lot and we want to grow. And sometimes it's just like, it takes a little bit longer, right? But it's just, again, like, it's the natural flow of life. Like when you plant a tree and you're waiting for fruit, it takes however long it takes, right? But it's like really knowing what the good fundamentals are and staying solid to the good fundamentals and understanding that, like, at the end of the day, it's just a balance of like, are you having green days or red days, right? Like, let's collect green days as much as possible. And then be mindful of like the thing and the people that make your days from red to green, right? Because like that Mike for me is one of those people, right? Like I can get energized in a conversation with Mike because we are those like that kind of like friendship and brotherhood that like it's iron against iron, right? So like I don't leave a conversation with Mike being like, I'm gonna have such a shitty day now after I spoke to him. Like that doesn't happen, right? And like keep surrounding yourself with those people and understand, like really be aware of like how can you switch a day? Like if a day is red at the beginning, some days it's just gonna stay that way. But also learn and like learn how to like make yourself feel better, and be like, can I switch this day? Can I go work out? Can I do an ice bath? Can I eat a healthy meal? Can I drink a bottle of water? Like some days I'm feeling like shit and I just water, like I just needed some water and sun, like a plant. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like a sad plant. I drink some water, sit in the sun for a half hour. I'm blissful afterwards. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like something stupid, but it's like, it's the reality of things, right? And then going back to you, like reviewing your goals. And I've had to do this last week. If there is a goal that keeps being there and you don't get it done over time, either get it done or take the shit off, because it breaks down your vibe. It breaks down the juju. It breaks down that like feeling of like accomplishment. The fact that you keep dragging this thing week after week after week, either like take it off, reconnect to why it's even there in the first place. Like, is this a real goal? Like, is this a goal? Like, is this something that like, are you really passionate about? Like, are you willing to become somebody else in order to accomplish this goal? Like, are you willing to become who you need to be to get to this goal? If not, take it off and leave it with stuff that builds up your self-esteem and your confidence, right? And then maybe it's a goal that you put back next year after that, or maybe never. Who cares? At the end of the day, nobody else is judging you. Like me and Mike don't care. Like if you're part of the community and you tell Mike Riley something, you're like, or you tell Daryl something, it's like, I want 20 of this. And I'm like, okay. And then you get to 5 and you're like, we're just happy you got to 5. We don't care.
Yeah.
The only disappointment is you to you.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, I think we're going to keep this one short and tight today. You know, it was,
Good idea.
so just to recap, reflect on where you're at on your goals. If you don't have a team yet, but you're like pushing to do this full time and like grow a team, get some clarity around what would my ideal week look like. So then you can start moving towards that. Right.
Mhm.
And we've done other episodes and we'll do more episodes around like creating process and systems. I mean, we've talked a lot about it, but to keep it simple, anytime you're going to do something in your business, at a minimum, next time, just record your screen on Loom like you were going to teach it to somebody else. And then ideally, you can document it with screenshots and like click this, then do this, then do this. But at a minimum, if you just do the Loom thing, then you'll start to develop a process or a Rolodex of processes so that when you can bring people on, they're not starting with nothing. You have a lot of this documentation that you can walk them through to onboard them.
Yeah.
And then it's all just building your culture.
Yeah. And if you have to inconvenience yourself to do something one time and you're like, I don't want to do this again, with the cost of you do it, like for example, right, this happened the other day. We have a unit that we just launched. Half of them are still getting renoed, the other half are ready, and a guest locked himself out, and I had the master lockbox with all the keys, but then we already bought extra lockbox to put in the property that just have keys just in case, like the lock, the battery, whatever happens, right? This is what happened this time, right? And I didn't have it. The system wasn't there, right? And so like and my team was off, and like it just happened out of the blue. So like I had to physically drive there. And again, I take extreme ownership. And my team was like, I'm so sorry, we were supposed to do the box. I'm like, it's my systems. It's not your systems. It's my systems. It's my fault. Take the extra time needed to follow through and do your systems right then and there. You already wasted the time going there. So now fix it in a way that you don't have to do this shit ever again. And really start taking stuff off your plate as soon as possible. Because like a less full plate, it will already feel like a whole new life. If you're used to being overwhelmed and just having too much on your plate, just being able to pass a couple of things off and just breathing and having more leisure time on a day-to-day basis, just gain an hour in your day. It makes a world of a difference.
100%. 100%. And if you're looking for some help growing your business, definitely check out the mastermind, man. Like this is what we do day in and day out. We've got 5 coaching calls a week now, which is crazy to think because it used to be just me, but now we've got me and 3 other coaches and E's in there as well. And we've got 5 coaching calls a week, plus a whole program, plus accountability group, plus a whole bunch of stuff.
So many people helping. Like there is times now that I don't even have time. Like I see a comment come in and I'm like doing something. I'm like, I'll get to that after. And I go in there and there's like 18 answers on there. There's like, everything is excellent stuff that like I didn't even think about or experience. I'm like, that's what I was hinting at earlier. I'm like, I am so proud of like the community that like we've built, because it's like amazing people helping others, sharing their experiences with no intentions, no hidden intentions, no nothing, just why wouldn't you want that?
So if you guys want more info on that, just go to strsecrets.com/apply. You can fill out an application form and then pick a time to book a call with one of our coaches. It could be me, it could be Daryl, it could be Mike Riley, basically who's ever available during the time that you want. We'll tell you a bit about it, see if we think it's the right fit for you based on where you're at and what your goals are, and then we just go from there. So either way, it's not like a high pressure sales call. So if you're interested, go to strsecrets.com, apply, fill out the app, and then book a call with one of our amazing coaches. So that is it for this episode. Appreciate you as always, brother. Appreciate all the listeners. This podcast is growing like crazy, and super proud of it, and grateful for all you guys. And if you can, leave us a review when you get a second. We hardly ever ask for that, but it definitely helps us out, or it helps when people are searching for podcasts. It will help promote ours so that they get more of this content. So we really appreciate it.
And always, anything that you guys feel that you're going through, obviously, if you join the mastermind, a lot of questions that we talk about on the show, we get from there. But if there is something particularly pressing to you, reach out to me on IG, reach out to Mike, and just let us know. Like, hey, we'd love to hear more about this. You know what I mean? Like, how do you work on this? So like, I know this great person or operator that like I would love for you guys to have on the show to just find out what her or his story has been. Like I generally am curious about other people's success, and I get energized by other people's stories. So we'd love to, give you guys more of what you want.
100%. This is for you guys. I mean, this is why we do what we do. So anyway, hope you guys have an amazing week. Get out there, move the needle. Again, take some action, get clear, review your goals, set your intentions for this quarter, for this month, for this week, cascade it down to your team, and we will see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.
Ciao, guys.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.